time for greatness, not for greed. It's time for idealism, not ideology. It's not just time for compassionate words, but for compassionate action. Marion Wright Edelman spoke these words to a class of graduating students at Berea College just last year. These qualities are hard to come by in the common man. Greatness, idealism, compassion. However, people who serve others are not the common man. They go above and beyond the call of duty to answer the demands for service, change, and peace among others. When Rotarians serve others, they not only affect that person, but his or her life. Rotary International displays their greatness through their fight in polio. By bringing together 34,200 clubs in over 532 districts, Rotary International has touched many with the greatness of what this organization can accomplish by serving others. Rotarians can put an end to the disease that takes away the most simple right we as humans have, to be able to move freely among this earth. By putting an end to this scourge, we inspire people by this speed of greatness, and soon people of every nation will know of the greatness they too can inspire. This concept of peace through service has inspired me to go into the medical field and to one day become a doctor. It has empowered me to go through years of study, countless of sleepless nights, and long 24-hour shifts, all to one day fulfill the task of saving another person's life. Most people think any doctor is crazy for the amount of schooling they go through in order to get the little letters MD put after their name. But what most people don't understand is that every trying, tedious moment is all worth it in order to get to that one moment when you save another person's life. Though most people can't be doctors, it doesn't mean we can't inspire greatness every single day just by holding the door open for someone or picking up something they dropped. These simple acts of kindness can bring about peace as we both serve and inspire. Someone, somewhere, once described idealism as the pursuit or the belief of some perfect vision, like the belief that we as humans can change the world. In my daily life, I'm surrounded by teachers who tell me all day long to think logically and realistically, to believe in the possible and pursue it. My only question is, though, what happened to the teachers that inspired the pursuit of the impossible? In my daily life, I tell my teachers, why can't we do something different? Do something impossible? Rotarians, past and present, believe in the pursuit of the impossible. Specifically, they believe that we can change the world one simple act of kindness at a time. In today's society, compassion is a dying trait in humanity. Most people are too worried about all the things they have to get done during their daily life to even think about helping out another person. I, myself, have fallen guilty to this tunnel vision time and time again, until last year, when my agriculture teacher challenged our class to a random act of kindness, and then to write a short paragraph about our experiences. That Saturday, as I was walking out of Walmart, I spotted an elderly woman putting 3 cartloads of groceries into the back end of her car. I saw this as my opportunity to fulfill my tasks through the weekend and get my homework done. I walked up to the elderly woman and asked her if I could help her put up her groceries. And immediately, a smile swept across her face as she replied, "Why, yes, thank you." As I put the groceries into the back end of her car and returned the cart to its lane, I realized something. This task I just completed wasn't just some homework assignment. It was a lifelong lesson my teacher taught me that I will never forget. That day, I learned the importance of taking a moment out of my life to do something compassionate for another person and the effect it can have on them as well. My compassionate words turned into a compassionate action by not only saying I was going to help someone, but by actually doing it. I revived the dying trait in humanity, one simple act of kindness at a time. In today's world, people often say peace is something that cannot be achieved. They can only exist in the minds of people. But I refuse to believe this notion because I know the effects service can have on a community, state, nation, and eventually the world. So I challenge every man or woman in this room to be uncommon, to be a Rotarian, to rise above and achieve greatness, inspire idealism, and take a moment out of your day to do something compassionate for another person. Ask yourself, when was the last time that I did something compassionate for another person? I'm going to close my speech by quoting the Rotary International President, Sacagawea Tanaka, in his letter given to each speech participant at the beginning of this competition. Peace is not something that can be achieved by treaties, through governments, or even heroic struggles. It is something that we can find and that we can achieve every single day and in many simple ways. Thank you.
While many people think peace to be a fictional idea as war, disease, and suffering continue to plague the globe, I stand before you to tell you that peace is possible. If every person puts forth the little time and effort required to help another, regardless of the size of the action, peace can be achieved. By being kind to one another and finding a way to give back to your community that provides for your personal enjoyment, anyone can easily emulate the Rotary Club's values. That is, to provide peace through service. Talk show host Ellen DeGeneres ends each show with a reminder to her audience to be kind to one another. Each day, we are all given the opportunity to help another person. Many think to make an impact and provide adequate service, huge amounts of time and effort must be put forth. On the contrary, an action as small as asking how someone's day went can go miles in regards to brightening that person's day. A simple smile can turn a person's day around. Smiling is scientifically proven to improve a person's mood and make those around them feel more comfortable. Few people recognize the impact kindness plays in promoting inner peace for everyone, including the person being kind. As philosopher Blaise Pascal once said, "Kind words do not cost much, yet they accomplish much." As the 14th anniversary of the Columbine High School shooting took place nearly 3 weeks ago, it's important to remember that your own actions have a direct impact on others' lives, whether it be for the better or for the worse. The family of Columbine victim Rachel Scott began a program known as Rachel's Challenge in order to combat bullying and encourage students to be kind to one another. The program's mission statement is this: people will never know how far a little kindness can go. Rachel's Challenge is responsible for saving the lives of nearly 500 students contemplating suicide over the course of the last 3 years. Unfortunately, I've witnessed bullying at my own school, and on multiple occasions have stood up for friends and strangers alike facing these bullies. Something that few realize is that hurtful words and actions towards another person leave scars on the victim that take years to heal and make it extremely difficult to find inner peace. As members of the Rotary Club stand for goodwill and peace through service, I encourage all of you to go out and perform just one kind deed today. Pass on the kindness. In continuation, finding a way to give back to your community that provides for your personal enjoyment is a simple way to provide peace through service. Since its formation, the Rotary Club has had a global presence in building strong communities. The Rotary Club's commitment to ridding the world of polio and encouraging volunteerism exemplify the importance Rotarians place on community involvement. My own involvement with the community has always been positive. During the winter, the high school and middle school choirs held their annual Taste of Broadway shows. The choir was in desperate need of students willing to MC the production, so a friend and I decided we'd spend our Saturday giving back to our community by doing something that we love, performing. So we MC'd the show. It was a lot of fun, and later we were thanked by the choir director for helping to make the show run smoothly. You see, service does not have to be out in the middle of a field on the hottest day of the year, sweat dripping from your brow as you pull weeds from the dirt. Service can and should be something you love. Finding a way to give back to your community that provides for your personal enjoyment makes it feel as though it's not service. Rather, you're able to provide peace and complete service at the same time you're having fun. It's also important to find a group of people that encourages you to give back to your community, as the Rotary Club does for its members, and as the Beta Club and National Honor Society do for me. On a local level, Mayor Greg Fisher recently encouraged citizens of Louisville to give back to their communities during a week of service known as Give-A-Day Week. This year, the city of Louisville came together as more than 107,000 volunteers and acts of compassion took place in Louisville. A city that parallels the volunteerism seen in Louisville during Give-A-Day Week is Boston, Massachusetts, in the wake of the Boston Marathon bombing. Following the horrific bombing that took the lives of 3 and injured more than 200, strength and heroism overcame the city as spectators helped the injured evacuate the area. Great cities such as Louisville and Boston effectively illustrate the importance of community in fostering volunteerism. As I've stated, peace is simple, but what happens when opposing beliefs and motives are brought into play? Peace can be substituted for profit or personal gain. Something that few realize is that you can change a life. It's important to remember that service is not selfish. Service is selfless. Service is about helping another before helping yourself. Only then can peace truly be achieved. To some, the idea of peace evokes the image of a white dove carrying an olive branch, while to others, peace evokes the image of a hippie holding up the peace sign. However you choose to look at it, the underlying message is clear, and that is to help one another. The greatest service that you can do is help your fellow man. Peace will undoubtedly follow. Thank you.
My optimistic viewpoint comes from a service project I took part in the summer of 2010 following the flood that took place in Nashville. My youth group and I arrived in Nashville to find that there was literal violence, seeing that many of the homeless shelters had been shut down and that the vagrants were fighting over the meager supplies that were left. However, we were able to bring literal peace through service. My youth group and I were able to reopen the homeless shelters that had closed down. We brought supplies with us and had the workers that were unable to come to work within ourselves. Through this, we brought peace through our simple acts of service. And Rotary is always one of the first clubs to act when a natural disaster strikes. This can be seen through the 8 clubs from just the state of Kentucky that went to help during Hurricane Katrina, and the 5 clubs that went to help in the Northeast following Hurricane Sandy. This shows us that peace through service is a concept that's very much obtainable at the national level when we put forth efforts during time of so much strife, such as national disasters. So now that we've taken on this concept at the national level, let's hop in our airplane as we attempt to take on peace through service at the international level. And when we think about taking on the entire world, we wonder how we're going to do this. Well, I believe we must leave the concept of the individual person and move on to the concept of the individual country. In an ideal world, each country would get along well, and there wouldn't be any turmoil between nations.
However, that's sadly not the country that we live in. And I discovered this the summer after my freshman year of high school, when my family had a foreign exchange student from Russia come to stay with us. Being an only child, sharing a bedroom and a bathroom was a bit of an adjustment. However, after hearing the family saga of Lyra, I discovered that what I was going through was minimal. Lyra began to explain to me how her family was from the lower strata of Russian society, but how her brother Dan was really intelligent, and he wanted to go to medical school. She went on to further explain that this was not an attainable goal due to how much Russia was going to charge for Dan to come to the United States for that stint of time, seeing that they expected him to go into the military. He would have to pay for his military service, his trip to the United States, and his schooling, and this was simply unfeasible for his family. However, due to the local generosity of a family in Paducah, Kentucky, Dan went to Murray State University, where he achieved an undergraduate in biology, and he now finds himself at the University of Kentucky's medical school, about to achieve his goal. And how did this happen? This happened through the service of citizens in Paducah, Kentucky, a partnership from Paducah to Quincy, Russia, an international partnership that allowed service and peace to go inside and make this happen. And Rotary also works through international peace through service, through the Polio Plus program. Through this, we go back to the fundamental concept of a person's basic needs being met. And with their basic need of health being met, Rotary is thus providing international peace through service. Me and all my friends were all misunderstood. The next week, when I returned to tutoring, I explained to Bubba what I've talked to you about here today, that we took part in the tutoring because we saw that we were providing peace through our service. And his answer, I've never thought of it that way. And that is the problem. Citizens throughout our nation and throughout the world see service as a monotonous activity or a resume builder, but not a way to provide peace. The next week, when I returned to tutoring, Bubba informed me that he had begun volunteering at the Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club, training the next line of defensive backs. And this was music to my ears, more so than the dreamy voice of John Mayer. Thank you.
I judged a speech contest before, of course, and it doesn't get any easier. It's certainly not an easy decision, but it certainly restores your faith in the younger generation, doesn't it? Thank you for your participation. Good luck to all of you. And I suppose you're probably interested in the checks and who gets first and second. We have two runners-up. The first is Alan Wilson McKenzie and Sam Dugan. Is that right, Sam? Yes, sir. If you will come up, please. And I guess that kind of points the finger at who number one. Victoria, come on up, please.